The fact that the budget office put that out is quite important, because basically what they're saying, there is not a problem. Climate change is not a problem. If you just do a 2% per year increase in GDP over the next 80 years, we go from $2 trillion a year GDP, where we're at now, just over, to $10 trillion. And, you know, and that's their projection for growth. And what he's saying is, if we don't do anything about climate change, it's going to reduce that 10 trillion by 6.6%, which works out to about $140 billion. And I mean, the number could be 200-300 billion too, depending on how fast the economy grows. But it's $140 billion at that 2% per year. That's all you've got to work with. Any money you spend on climate change is only working on that 140 billion. But then he put out a second run where you do spend the Paris Climate Accord commitments, and all that does, and that's, you know, hundreds of billions, trillions of dollars for Canada. All that does is move it up to 5.8% instead of 6.6% drop. So your improvement with those Paris Accord commitments is only 0.8% of GDP 80 years from now, which on that calculation is only $17 billion. That's our target. We're going to spend hundreds of billions to probably trillions, excuse me, to save $17 billion in GDP 80 years from now. And also in that report, he said that we make no difference. You know, like the PBO officer acknowledged that it makes no difference. Mm-hmm. So why are we doing this? Like, it makes no sense. Well, Calgary has agreed to spend $87 billion of our taxpayer dollars to address the climate emergency that they perceive to exist. Well, that uses up a big chunk of the 140 billion, but it more than uses up the 17 billion type range. And Ottawa has a similar plan at 67 billion, I think it was. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, and that doesn't include everything Ottawa wants to spend. The government, federal government, wants to spend on climate change. Like, you're not. You can spend all the money you want. You're not going to address the climate change problem. We should be putting these green initiatives on hold for 10 or 20 years while we fix the other major financial problems that we've gotten ourselves into right now. Because even when I was 20 years old, I recognized that, and there was problems back in the 70s with Love Canal and all kinds of other pollution problems. They were real. Those were real pollution problems. But I recognize that you can't fix any of those if you don't have a sound economy. There's just no money, and you can't just print the money to make it. We're already in this situation because of green over expenditures. They don't add anything to the GDP as a rule, nothing quantifiable anyways. But take a step back and try to fix our real problems in the world. And then we can get to that later if it's still a problem. And will it be a problem? I don't think so, just because of if you look at all the data, including the solar activity and the ocean cycles, we're not headed for catastrophic warming. Any warming we get will most likely be beneficial.
But we may be headed for catastrophic cooling.
We could be, yes, yeah. And again, I don't like to promote catastrophism because I can't say it, obviously. but it's a bigger deal, and it's a real possibility over the next few decades. I truly do believe we're going to cool. I don't know if we're going to cool 2 degrees globally or 1 degree or half a degree, but over the next couple of decades we are going to cool. Like, the totality of the data says we are. And I hope it's just half a degree, and I hope CO2 caused enough warming so it's helped, but I don't think it has, not effectively. We should be adapting to our planet, whether we're cooling or warming, not trying to change the climate. We're way too far past that, and it doesn't matter what we do in Canada or the British Isles or Australia, our emissions are meaningless on the world scale. And on the world scale, they're meaningless too, because if you use the IPCC science, the best you can get with all the Paris Accord commitments is about a 0.17 degree drop in 2100. That's not, you can't measure it. It's not going to make any difference. And you'll be at that, you eat up that drop within a year or two anyways. So you're spending $10 trillion for every 100th of a degree temperature drop you put in place. What could you do with $10 trillion? For every 100th of a degree. I mean, we're talking hundreds of trillions of dollars is what they want to spend on changing climate change. And it's not enough to change the climate, according to their numbers. It's kind of a fool's game.